Good morning, everybody. This is Nicole Pagan from Horizons Foundation. We are going to give folks a couple of minutes to join up. In the meantime, if you would like to introduce yourselves in chat and say which organization you're from, that would be great. Good morning, everybody. This is Nicole Pagan from Horizons Foundation. We are just giving folks a minute or two to join before we start the actual session. So if you want to introduce yourselves in chat, you can go ahead and do that. Say where you're from, which organization you represent. That would be great. So I'm watching the chat and we've got New Orleans, we've got Chicago, we've got San Diego, Colorado, Oklahoma, Virginia. That's great. So as I mentioned a moment ago, I'm Nicole Pagan. I'm from Horizons Foundation. We're just letting folks have a minute or two to join up into the webinar, and then we will get started with the presentation for today. And folks are typing in their name and the organization they represent and the location they're in the chat if you want to go ahead and do that yourselves. I'm just watching the chat and this is great. Like the number of people who are joining and the diversity of where you're from in the country is awesome. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Nicole Pagan. I am the Give Out Day program manager at Horizons Foundation. I'm also a program officer, which means I do the grant making pieces for the organization. This is the Give Out Day Learning from Past Success webinar. We have 3 fabulous panelists who have been amazing in securing leaderboard wins in the past few years, and we are going to have them have a great conversation with you all and save room at the end for about 15 minutes for folks to ask them questions. We did have some questions come in before, and so we've worked that into the panel discussion, and then I will also maybe potentially ask some of those later in the meeting. So let's go. So as you can see with the slide that my colleague Curtis is sharing, so this is your Give Out Day team. We at Horizons Foundation, Curtis and I, and our fabulous intern Vivian this year have been running Give Out Day for quite a while. We have our technology partner, Dawn Nolte, who is one of the Mighty Cause Foundation people who provide the platform that Give Out Day is built on. Also is on the chat. Just wanted to introduce our team. This is who we are. This is who is working for you every day. Okay, so let's get into the meat of the discussion. What we wanted to talk about today is really like peer-to-peer fundraising, because in our opinion, that is like the most important thing that organizations do to raise funds on Give Out Day. So what do we mean by peer-to-peer? It's individuals creating and promoting their personal fundraisers. Literally, that is a thing they can do physically on the website. They can go in and create a fundraiser for your organization that allows them to say why they are funding you, why your organization is important to them. And we know that the connection of people asking their friends, their family, their connections to support an organization that means something to them is a really, really important way that organizations raise money. Okay, and so it also means like individuals can create a fundraising page and share it with their networks. And there's also the idea of text and phone baking, which these are, you know, we've had organizations actually literally call people they know and be like, hey, will you donate to this organization because it is super important to me and this is why. And that's a really, really compelling reason to fund something because it has helped somebody that you know. Okay, so this is a really great stat from last year. This shows that the organizations that actually utilize the peer-to-peer fundraising on the website, meaning they had people create fundraising pages for them, raise the amount of money that you're seeing there versus organizations who didn't actually have folks do the individual fundraising page for them. Okay. And then, so this is a slide that shows what happens if an organization secures a match from a board member, a corporation, a major donor. It's not technically peer-to-peer fundraising in the way that we're going to talk about later, but it is a really compelling sort of bandwagon effect because it shows that somebody is invested enough in your organization to be like, hey, I want to give them $5,000. And if you join me, they will, your donation is going to basically double, right? So the fundraising site has the ability to set up matching fundraisers, just like individuals can set up a fundraiser. And we can see the difference in what is being raised there. So yes, let me introduce our panelists now, because this is really like why you're joining us today. And it's super important to hear from people who have been successful in the past. We have three incredible panelists today who are from organizations that have secured leaderboard wins over the period of time that they have been involved in Give Out Day. We have Marianne Adams from Zami Nobla, Organization for Black Lesbians. They have been super successful in raising funds for their organization and in securing leaderboards on the regional and the leaderboards for small organizations that serve people of color over the past 4 years. Melissa Diaz-Infante from Oasis Legal Services. They joined Give Out Day a couple of years ago, and in their first year were able to win one of the top national prizes, and she will talk about their strategy. And then we also have Nick Vargas from the Source LGBTQ Center. They are a center that is in Visalia, California, which is like Central Valley for us. So a little bit different than San Francisco or Los Angeles. And they have had a great success in being able to grow their organization through Give Out Day. In their very first year, they won like a small regional prize. And then going forward, they were able to like step it up, and they have been number one in like one of the leaderboards for a couple of years. So we're super excited to have Nick Vargas join us too. So with that, I want to pass it over to the panelists just to give a brief introduction of themselves and yes, so there we go. So let's start with Marianne.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm happy to be here. We are deeply rooted in Atlanta, Georgia, with a national reach. We are committed to building a base of power for Black lesbians 40 and older, living anywhere in the country. We center service, advocacy, and community engaged research. We have 3 state chapters, one in California, one in North Carolina, and one in Oregon.
That's great. Melissa?
At Oasis, we provide legal and holistic case management services for LGBTQ asylum seekers. We serve all of Northern California as far south as Bakersfield. We also serve Washington State, Oregon, and parts of Nevada. We serve over 700 LGBTQ immigrants every year, and I'm happy to say we have a 99% success rate. My apologies, I live on a very busy street.
That's okay. So do I. You might hear the BART train going by my house at some point today, because I literally live on the street that has a BART track going down the middle of it. Okay, so Nick.
Nick Vargas, he, him. I'm one of the co-founders of the Source LGBT Plus Center and serve as Director of Development and Strategy. The Source is a relatively new organization. We will turn 5 years old this year. And we started as a grassroots community-driven effort. Before the Source, there was no organization that was queer-led serving our community for 100 miles. And we've grown rapidly because we've been able to address that need, to take the community into consideration, because it is community driven. And because we are the only org of our type doing work, creating safe spaces in an area that can be very hostile for LGBTQ people here. So just to give you some background, we're in a very red part of California. A lot of people think California is, liberal and safe for LGBTQ people. That's not always the case. Devin Nunes is our congressman here. People love Devin Nunes. They love Donald Trump and that ideology that sometimes pairs with that. So our people oftentimes struggle with coming out, struggle finding resources, things that are very easy to find in larger urban centers of California, impossible to find here. So that's what we just grew, asked the community what we needed, and we've been able to do it over 5 years. We're, like Nicole was saying, we've grown from a very small organization to where we're now, I think, according to Horizons, we're categorized as a large center. And we're really grateful for Give Out Day and Horizons for helping us do that.
Thank you. That was really great, Nick and Melissa and Marianne. I'm super excited that folks are going to be able to learn from you today. So let's get started with the questions that I have. So the first question is, how have you leveraged the peer-to-peer fundraising in your Give Out Day campaigns? And let's start with Marianne.
So I think we've been involved with Give Out Day now for about 4 years. Mm-hmm. And we've certainly gotten better year to year. We've learned more. We have been able to leverage the resources, and we've actually gotten more sophisticated, quite frankly. We have not done a great job in terms of getting our peers to share our fundraiser, doing personal fundraisers. We have many women who are, I would say the average age of our membership and our followers is probably mid to late 50s. We have a lot of women who are in their 60s and 70s, and they're not very adept or comfortable with accessing the internet. And we also have a lot of marginalized folk who don't have a lot of financial literacy. They did not grow up with that. They are very reticent. They are afraid to fundraise. They don't think they know how to do it or to ask for money. So even though we have tried to get folks to do personal fundraising pages, we have not been successful in terms of that. But what we have done a really good job at is having people share our fundraising pages with their networks. We've had, and one thing that we've done, I think we did it really well, is that we've been strategic about when we're rolling out the Give Out Day campaign. And we know our membership. We have a huge social media presence. We have about 5 groups on Facebook. And they're very different. We have a private Facebook group that has about 1,500 Black lesbians from all around the country, as well as Brazil and South Africa. We have a Zami Nobler book club Facebook group that's open to any woman 18 and older, regardless of sexual identity or race or ethnicity. We also have a Purple Thumb gardening group that has about 300 women in it. The book club has about 300 women in it. We also have a financial education group. We also have an events and outing group, and we have a Facebook page. And we also have an Instagram page, and we also have a Twitter page. And so we have a lot of different peers to draw on, and we've been doing that. One of the things that we did is we utilized our board. We integrated the Give Out Day images, and we used our own images, and we introduced the board and the staff and the volunteers maybe about 2 weeks before Give Out Day, and they had their photographs. There's a message, and I can share that. And they talked about why Give Out Day was important and why we participate. And I think that was really huge because it personalized it for folks. And then they started getting accustomed to that year after year. And so they started to learn more about Give Out Day, and it really become excited about us participating every year.
That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have seen the different strategies that you guys have utilized on social media. Your Instagram stories are always like super on point, and I think that's the meat of this peer-to-peer discussion that we're having, where if you can personalize it for people, they will be more likely to give to your organization.
Absolutely.
Melissa?
Wow, Marianne, I need to have some organizing to do. I'm so impressed with all the networks you have. Much like Marianne, we haven't had a whole lot of luck with getting people to create their own fundraising pages. I think we had maybe one person do it last year. But what has been really key is tapping into our networks. We are going to be 4 years old this year, so Oasis is still a relatively new organization, but for the last couple of years, what we've done is planning ahead of time, making sure that like strategic partners are aware that Give Out Day is coming, and tapping into at least a few people who have large networks, a large reach, and not necessarily asking them for a donation, but asking of not a donation of funds, but asking them to donate a little bit of time to send out a message to their networks, whether it's via email or social media or whatever their preferred method is. Having a few strategic partners in that way can really go a long way. And then also having it be part of our messaging that once we do start promoting our Give Out Day campaign, promote, once you donate, tell one or two people. You don't have to, some people don't like to share everything on Facebook or social media, but reach out to maybe two people who you're close to, who you say can tell them, hey, this is what matters to me. And, it can trickle out and spread in that way. So that type of peer-to-peer fundraising has gone a long way for us. And then just making sure that we also tap into having maybe somebody who is open to donating matching funds and having that ready ahead of time, having our social media plan ready ahead of time, and letting people know leading up to Give Out Day a couple weeks ahead, letting them know it's coming. And last year was really great, switching to Pride Month. I feel like that was also really helpful, having it stretch out the whole month, being able to leverage people's personal Pride celebrations and having them share their message and what Oasis means to them, what asylum for LGBTQ asylum seekers means to them. Having them put that personal message out there is really important. I do want to say that every organization is different, so I recommend tapping into the resources that you have, what makes sense for you. Some people that you might ask to do some outreach, pre-write some messages for them, draft an email ahead of time and say, hey, would you reach out to your networks? I've drafted this email. If you want to use it, you're welcome to tailor it or customize it or write your own. But really having people some strategic partners with a wide reach has been really helpful to our campaign.
Thank you, Melissa. I am just about to drop a quick link into chat. We have some resources for you. If you go to the Learning Center that we have created this year, there are templates. Sorry about that. There are templates for working with for how to work with fundraisers, how to ask them to help you, things that they can use to share, all of that stuff. We've created some of that for you. So click that link in the chat. And now, Nick, let's hear from you, because you've had a really great trajectory over the last few years.
So certainly the resources that Nicole and Horizons provide have been helpful to us to get that base messaging out. So to add on to what Melissa and Marianne were talking about, we have had some success with the social media marketing. A lot of our base tends to be a little younger and more engaged on those platforms. But we have not, the bulk of our donations come from personal asks. So I think Melissa was talking about starting early. So we start talking about Give Out Day at the end of Q4, the day, the year prior. And it's a conversation that we work into almost anybody who asks how they can support, because the ask is $10. And we give them the messaging that, each $10 donation, goes towards a leaderboard prize. And then creating messaging for our people who want to help us on how to ask. And we ask for 5 people. If you don't know 5 people, that's okay. If you know more, that's great. But just 5 people that you can ask for a $10 donation, and they can make that donation online. They can make that donation. They could give you cash or a check to bring to us. It's, giving them options on how to approach it and the messaging, and just having that strategy already built out. We've been having conversations about it basically all year round. We have a menu of ways that people can give. Give Out Day is one of those. So is, Amazon, their program, monthly donations, and then even those larger things. So we give a menu for people who ask, and then we have them sign up, and then we have a reminder in our database and our calendars to reach out to these people who said they wanted, support Give Out Day, and try and engage them to get more of their friends. So those personal asks are really important. Providing the messaging and the tools. We use, with some success, mission moment videos that our people can share with the text to donate. So for example, if you wanted to try this to see how we've done it, if you all text the word Give Out Day or Give Out, it's one word, Give Out, to 43506, you get an autoresponder back. And so that's a tool that we use as staff, and that's a tool that we give to others, because sometimes you're having a conversation with somebody and they're not able to get directly to type in Give Out Day / the source, but they can type out Give Out to this number, and then they get the link back. You can also text our story, video. We have other keywords that you can develop in your own text thing, that it's a great tool that we've had success. So people can remember those and they can share it. They can get the link right away. But it's really about those personal asks, starting early. This year, we are hoping to leverage the Mighty Cause peer-to-peer fundraising platform much more, especially with COVID has made, those personal one-on-one asks a little bit more, difficult. So we're planning to do that, but it's really about finding 50, 60 people who are really committed and who are going to make those 5 to 10 asks for you.
That's great. So actually you have all answered my second question, which was about the resources that it took to create a successful campaign. So I'm going to move on to the third one.
Well, Nicole, I'd like to just add something to that.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I think it's important to do the best job you can at telling your story. We were able to develop a campaign around a particular project that we were working on. And the next year, we actually had a before and after. So we showed people where their mighty cause dollars, Give Out Day dollars went the year before. And it was really very striking in terms of what we were able to do with those dollars. And so we are lucky to have a graphic design artist uh, who is our creative director. And we also have a really great photographer. So we put a lot of time and effort into developing those images. And we spent a lot of time making sure that our landing page on Mighty Cause looks really good as well. And so people are able to go and they can just see, and we are really clear about what we're asking for. And that's made a difference, I think, as well.
Thank you, Marianne. So the next thing I was going to ask, I think, is, so I think you've answered it to some extent, but in terms of motivating the folks who have been willing to share social media images, to call people, to share an email, or what, like, how have you done that? Because that's one of the things that a lot of our organizations struggle with. And feel free, any of you, to just go ahead and chime in.
It's been, for Oasis, it's been just reaching out directly to certain people in our networks who we know are supporters, and whatever works for them. You know, if somebody's a phone call kind of person, if they're an email kind of person, I think it's all about tailoring your approach to whoever you're speaking to. And kind of just to piggyback off of what Marianne was saying, really having your fundraising page, like having the message clear, and having a good story there is really important. Having an image with people and faces, and then, you know, write a compelling message that shares what your successes are, but also what the challenges are that you're facing, and use language to put the potential donor right there with you. Have them right there next to you, doing the same work that you're doing. You know, speak to them that way, and to really draw people in. And I know that we're all used to kind of reaching out to some of the same networks. Like every time we have a fundraiser, you know, it's always going to be the same people on our social media or emails. But I would still make sure to write the messages if the person looking at your fundraising page is not familiar with your organization at all, because the hope is that you're going to be able to draw a new audience. So sorry, I went off a little bit there, but yeah.
No, I think that's all really valuable information for folks. So thank you very much.
I think for us, we are a seminal organization. We're the only organization in the country who is providing services and advocacy and community engaged research for Black lesbians over 40. So we're unique in that regard. We are also a very small organization with very limited capacity, but we give a lot. And so people respond to that and they want to help us help them. And quite frankly, one of the things that motivates our supporters is the leaderboard. We actually follow the leaderboard. We go into our groups and we're like, we're not gonna let these people beat us. I mean, come on, y'all. Now, all you need to do is call 5 more people, and they're doing this, and people are really very competitive. And so everybody's like, yeah, but they're not. And so everybody just automatically give everybody the link. They go and they watch it. Oh yeah, we need 5 more people, or we need this. I mean, so we really focus on the numbers as opposed to the dollars, even though we need the dollars, but we know that you all are counting the numbers, and we get really competitive. That's just the honest truth of the matter. We do not want these people. We want to be at the top, and we want to stay at the top. And so that's what motivates us.
That's great. I mean, so we at Horizons, the whole idea behind Give Out Day is that we're trying to help resource organizations year round so that they have capacity to do fundraising outside of Give Out Day. And the ability, and so that's how we structure it around the number of donors versus the number of dollars. Because the more people that you have, the more money you're going to raise. I mean, you might have one really big donor, but those small donations actually add up. And so that's one of the things that we are really, and it's also about like building community within the LGBTQ community nationwide, right? So like we're trying to reach folks to resource the organizations that help us, just like Mary Ann just said.
So competition is a big motivator, and we don't actually center our mission in our messaging. We talk, like Mary Ann, about the leaderboard prize and what we plan to do with it. So in 2019, our message was donate $10, get people to donate $10 so that we can take our Youth Leadership Academy alumni on a service learning trip to Ecuador. And many of these kids have never left the Valley, never been on a plane. So we're talking about those messaging and using our alumni to message out for us and use that idea of competition. If we hit number one, y'all are going to Ecuador, and because of economic things, a lot of these folks couldn't go just on their own, or nonetheless with a big queer group to go do some service with the queer community there and have just the experience. So finding what's compelling about why you want to win the leaderboard prize and being competitive about it is important. Last year, a lot of our work, is intersectional. So, we serve people of color quite a bit, people of color led in our org and founded. And when Black Lives Matter was in the media, like obviously it was a lot of our focus, our conversations here. And so we thought, well, what can we do to, because we wanted to support that movement as best we could, and financially we're able to. So we used a portion, we told people we're going to use a portion to support Black Trans Advocacy Coalition, which is one of our orgs that we like to support if we're able to additionally. And the remainder of the leaderboard prize was going to go to give direct aid to those people in our community who were experiencing the economic effects of COVID. So rent assistance, food assistance, direct aid. So that was our messaging around how can we serve, if we get the leaderboard prize, how can we serve, other causes in addition to our own? And that seems to work really well. And it's whatever your messaging is, it's just compelling for who you are as an org, for what is being talked about in the media, on social media, and where you can have that impact. Give people something exciting and competitive to, like, here's my $10 and I'm going to ask my friend for $10 too.
That's great. So this is not a question that I had shared with you all, but it just came up as I was listening to you speak. Because I remember something that you shared with me, Nick, about how you were able to leverage pride in the messaging in 2020. And I'd be curious to hear from you all about how shifting Give Out Day to that month, if that was like more successful and impactful for you, and how you were able to tie that messaging into your Give Out Day campaign.
So Pride, having it did help, but what really helped was just COVID. The messaging people were getting was, our communities, COVID is a thing, and if you can afford to support, please do. And many people did have the capacity to give $10 because of stimulus, because unemployment was available. So a lot of our community, which we live in a very high poverty area, and I'd say about 60% of our people are below they qualify for Medi-Cal and SNAP. And so, but they were able to support, and we were able to message out about how we're using funds to support the community. Pride was, just a bonus. So there were lots of messages that we could, but it was really COVID that helped us. This year, having it in Pride, because we're not going to have an in-person Pride at the very end of May like we normally do. It's helpful to say, the effects of COVID are still here. that it's Pride Month. If you can afford, that $5-10 you would have paid to get into the festival, give it here so that we can have a Pride, down the road.
Thank you. Melissa or Marianne, do you have anything to add to that?
COVID, in many ways, was a sweet blessing for us. There were folks who stopped and paid attention to us, who knew about us, and who simply said, I knew about Zambi Nobler, but quite frankly, I just never had time to stop and really check out what you all are doing. And so I really want to support it. And we also had people supporting us that we had no idea who they were. And that was a good thing. And I think in large part that had to do with a lot of individuals and organizations and agencies giving more to Black and Brown people last year. We happened to be in the midst of that, and it was really very beneficial for us, quite frankly, because we certainly raised more money than we ever raised before. And in terms of Pride, I'm not sure what impact Pride had, because here in Atlanta, we have two prides. We have Pride in June and we have Black Gay Pride in September. And so some people, certainly, I think, key into Black Gay Pride, and some people key into Pride in June. So it's sort of, I think, sort of maybe in some ways, so I'm not sure that was the thing for us. We didn't really do Pride a lot. We've been renovating a house for 2 years. It's called the Bigger's House. And so our messaging was dream bigger, give us this amount of money. And so we used that in our messaging more so than we did for Pride. And we also talked about really, most people have a heart for LGBTQ elders because one day they're going to be that person. And also, who does not have a heart for developing safe, accessible, affordable housing for Black lesbian elders, for lesbian elders, period. So I think we had some compelling messages. I think we have some compelling projects. And I think people want to help us because they're, for the grace of the goddess, go them. And so that's been beneficial for us, I think.
Great, thank you. Yeah, no, I think the idea that we shifted to Pride was kind of a sort of a focal point, and we recognize that Pride is not the same around the country, but that there has been this National Pride Month that has been developed around June. And so we felt that created some compelling messaging. But what I'm hearing from you all is really more about telling your compelling story and letting donors know what it is that they are funding and how they are helping people. And I think that when somebody that tells you that story and makes an ask, that is like one of the main reasons people decide to give to an organization. More so than just like, okay, well, we share our Give Out Day link on our Facebook page. There has to be something more behind that sort of personalizes it for the donor. And I think you've all done really, really well in sort of creating compelling campaigns around that. There was one other question that I wanted to ask you, just a second. So in addition, we've actually answered all the questions that I had without actually me asking them. So the last one that I had was just if there are any other strategies besides the peer-to-peer that you have used and that were like helpful and useful for you in your campaigns. And again, just go ahead and speak if you want.
So we were able to secure a $10,000 matching gift for Give Out Day. So that was helpful. People like the idea of a match. We also just share our social media following is significant for an org our size. So we have 18,000 followers on social media and get a national reach. So just putting that out there and having a campaign around social media was helpful to some extent. And then, the other strategy that I think I mentioned earlier is just working Give Out Day into all those conversations, about how to support the center, and engaging our board, and just making it easy for people, giving them whatever tools, finding out how they're comfortable, what tools they might use, and just giving them that strategy, spelling it out. Text, 5 people, call 5, whatever that is. And then just thanking people afterwards. So for us, Give Out Day is a very labor intensive thing. Is like, we're working on it, months ahead of time. It's our focus of the org the week of and the day of. And then the next week, we are sending out personal thank yous, either video messages, personal emails, phone calls, to, I want to say, almost every single donor that there is, and certainly those people who went and got their friends and family or their network to donate.
One of the things that we did was to have our members and folk reach out to the queer churches. There are a lot. There are like 11 in Atlanta, Black queer churches in Atlanta. I don't know how many I don't know how many queer churches there are generally, because I'm a heathen, but I do try and keep up. And just asking those people for $5. We're like, it takes less than $5. You can't get a movie ticket for $5. You can't buy it, but if you give us $10, that's the price of a burger and a Coke. I mean, that kind of messaging. And so we were able to reach out to all of those networks. And I think that paid dividends for us, certainly. And just trying to think about networks that people perhaps had not tapped into. We also ask everybody to call your mother, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother. Literally, we were just naming out those relatives, and people were like, oh, I guess I could call my uncle. Yeah, call your uncle and ask for $5. So people were literally calling their relatives and asking for $5 or asking for $1. So that was very helpful for us. And if we have time before we finish, I'd just like to show a couple of images that we've used that I think were very impactful as well.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that right now, if you want.
Okay, great.
So I think the thing that has been teased out, I know folks have feelings about asking people for money. But when you're asking for something that is important to you or important to your child or important to somebody that you have a relationship with, that is a really, really impactful message that people hear. And I think that that's what's been kind of brought out by the panelists. So as you're crafting your Give Out Day campaigns, kind of think of that, like, what is the compelling reason that somebody would want to give to your organization? And reach out to you have people who are invested already. You have your staff, you have your board, you have some donors already. And these are folks who have some reason that they care about your organization and can share that with folks. So I think being able to share those messages with folks is really, really important.
Do I have permission to share?
I think so. Give me just a second. You should be able to, if you roll over the bottom of your screen, do you see the navigation pane for the site? There should be a share screen in there.
Yeah, I see share, but for some reason,
It's not letting you?
No.
Okay, well, so unfortunately, wait, give me a second. It's showing me that you should be able to share, but since we can't do that, if you want to send the images to me that you were going to share, we can share them with folks in the follow-up email that we're going to send to our list with the discussion. Okay, so those are all my questions. So now we are going to open it up to questions from the people who have joined the webinar today. One of the things that I see here is somebody wanted specifically to know from you, Nick, where did you get the track and link program? Like, how did you develop that?
The text program?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So we were just looking for text communication tools, and we found Text Signal, which was in our price range. We seem to have the features, but there's others. There's Give Lively, I think, and that's even free for nonprofits. And there's a ton of texting programs. So, but we use Text Signal, and I think we just asked other nonprofits, what they were using, and it seems to work for us, and it's in our budget.
Great, thank you. Okay, so here's one broadly for all of you. What are some stewardship strategies for engaging and cultivating new donors that come to you through peer-to-peer? And the person has gone on to say, I find that sometimes when someone gives because a friend asks, it's hard to renew them the next year. Do you have any thoughts?
So yeah, it's hard to renew them. People are giving in that case because their friend asked. So it's probably more important to steward the friend who asked. But like I mentioned, we send personal thank yous to almost all of our donors the following week. There's a program called Bonbon that you can look up. It's cost effective, and it's a video message that you can send through email. And it's a great way to send a quick 30-minute thank you, Nicole, for making your donation, your impact here, let us know, then it's just at that point, we haven't gotten many donors outside of Give Out Day who continue, but we get some, and over the years, I'm sure that adds up. But often the people who did give last year will give again the next year. Something we've noticed. We actually get quite a few, and it's probably because that's in their mind. Oh, this is the fun competition. It's $10, or that same friend is asking them again, and they gave last year, and it's $10, so we'll do it again. So, and that's and we're grateful for that.
That's great, Melissa or Marianne. Do you have anything to add?
One of the things that we try to do to sustain donors was in our messaging to ask folks to become sustaining donors, and whether that's at $10 a month. We've had a few people to do that. We also decided beginning in January that we were going to engage Mighty Cause as our fundraising platform. So we pay for that monthly to get people accustomed, so that when June rolls around, even next year, they're accustomed to giving to Mighty Cause. It's not a new platform, because a lot of people have been reticent to do that, because PayPal has been our fundraising platform for years. But for us, it just makes more sense to go to Mighty Cause. And so we've had 4 months now to really get used to that. And when people say, well, where can I donate? And now we're sending people to Mighty Cause. So we're hoping that next year it will be even better for people to be accustomed to that, for sure. And this year we have 3 state chapters. We didn't have 3 state chapters last year. So I think that's going to be huge for us. And also having those chapters to reach out to those donors from those states to try to stay engaged with them throughout the year is one of the strategies that we're going to employ going forward.
That's great. Melissa, I have a question specifically for you that I think the campaign that Oasis ran in 2019, where you had such a big, such great success in the pre-giving period. Pre-giving was a thing that happened with our old platform. Mighty Cause does not have the pre-giving ability anymore. So that's why we've changed it to be like a month-long campaign. But I just talk about that a little bit, like how early you started with that, and who you utilized to reach out to such a broad network.
Gosh, we probably started maybe the month before, and just started putting out the messaging in our e-newsletter, and then we have a couple people, one of our board members, a couple other larger donors who have bigger networks, and we just ask them some of them we would drop an email that had just very clear messaging that it had to be scheduled ahead of time, scheduled for the 18th, because we wanted it to count. So just having your messaging be super clear, and letting everybody know that it's coming, and promoting the leaderboard opportunities, and looking at the leaderboards from the year before and getting an idea of like what is my target going to be for this year, what did people do last year, and that kind of thing, and using that as part of our messaging too, like we have this opportunity, but just making the messaging really clear.
That's great, thank you. I'm just sort of scrolling through the chat really quickly to see if there are some questions here.
And I do just want to add that I know there's like a lot of smaller organizations and we're all stretched thin. We're all doing the best we can with the resources that we have. And I do want to say for those who maybe don't have as much of a larger social media presence, when I found it helpful to find somebody who is really committed to the cause and is willing to volunteer their time to just focus on the social media, plan out the messages, schedule them, write them, work with them to make sure that, the messaging does reflect your mission and your values accurately and who your supporters are. So for those who have thin resources, use that, the learning center, use those resources there, and bring in a volunteer or two to help build that social media presence throughout the year so that you have that audience to build off of for Give Out Day.
And to piggyback on what Melissa said, one of the things that there are about maybe 10 of us organizations in Atlanta who work with each other. And so on Give Out Day, we donate to each other and we go on Twitter, we go on Facebook, we go on Instagram and say, hi, I just donated to Southerners on New Ground. Please support them. And so when people see us, who's also trying to raise money, supporting the other organizations who's trying to raise money, people like that, they respond to that. And so we all do that for each other. And so while in doing that, we're also tapping into their networks that may not have heard of the other organizations. And that's been very fruitful.
That's great. And we do have this sort of competitive aspect to Give Out Day with leaderboard and stuff, but we also have the idea that like the rising tide raises all boats. So we have seen a number of organizations do like what you were talking about, which is try to help other organizations as they are doing their fundraising. And that is actually another really compelling peer-to-peer kind of aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. What I have just dropped into the chat, a link to our learning center. There are specific lessons there about peer-to-peer fundraising. We have given you the tools to be able to, there's lessons on how to ask people to be a peer-to-peer fundraiser for you. Then there are templates for them to use as they are going through their campaign for you. So I hope that organizations who are watching this will take full advantage of that. I don't see other questions that are coming in. So I think I would just like to ask each of you to like maybe give like a closing thought about like your success as a Give Out Day leaderboard winner in the past, or just how it has been helpful for you in your organization.
Give Out Day was really huge for us last year, especially because we weren't able to host our annual celebration, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year. Last year's Give Out Day campaign, we tripled our numbers just about from the year before. And I think that it came from people just wanting to be able to do something. People can't go to fundraisers anymore and attend events, and people want to be able to do something. So I just appreciate that Give Out Day gives us the opportunity to tap into our networks. And the other exciting thing about, there's the competitive aspect of using the leaderboards to, let's boost our numbers, but it's also so exciting to see just see like, oh, we're reaching this many people, or this many people like know about us and care about us. And, you know, like Marianne was saying, it's like also like really great to be able to share other organizations who are also doing such amazing work, and we're all just here to help each other. So I really appreciate seeing all the other organizations on the Give Out Day page. I wish I could give to every single one, but I just want to say thank you to Horizons for organizing Give Out Day, and it's really important to us, Oasis as an organization, and to me as a member of the LGBTQ community, just to see such strong support and strong community.
Thank you.
You know, I've seen an increased pride in members of the LGBTQ community around Give Out Day, around the fact that we have our own dedicated and designated 24-hour fundraising platform. I mean, that makes people feel good. And the fact that Horizons is doing this not only gives us an opportunity to talk about this platform, but to talk about Horizons as well and the great work that you all are doing. For Zemi Nobla, you know, we're growing. We don't have that many financial resources. So Give Out Day, to be able to raise as much money as we possibly can. I mean, there's no limit, really. You know, I think it's extremely beneficial, and it shows us the possibilities and how we can fundraise if we're able to collectively put our might and our will and our work behind that. So I think when people see that, it's like, wow, we could really raise $50,000. We could really raise $100,000. And so this year we're going to double. Well, that's our goal. Our goal is to double what we raised last year. And there's no reason why we can't do that. And so that really fuels us and inspires us. And we believe that we can do it. And so we really appreciate being, and I've been telling other nonprofits, you know, you really need to get involved with Give Out Day. So we are really thankful for the opportunity to be able to participate, to be able to raise money that helps us with our programming and our services and our community engaged research. It's really been a sweet blessing. So thanks Horizons so much for that. It also gives us opportunity to learn about other organizations that we had no clue about. So that's really good in that regard.
Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, everything that Melissa and Marianne said, I mean, the energy of the day is a lot of fun, if not tiring. But it's great to see all of the orgs. Sometimes we can feel like alone in the work where we're at, but because there are no other orgs like us, but to see all hundreds, I'm like, oh, wow, that's exciting. I would leave the audience with, you know, it's, for me, like we hustle to, you know, to get every donation, to make those calls, to engage people. It's just a lot of time, a lot of time and effort for success. And, you know, I'm grateful that it's paid off, because it has helped us financially, especially as we were getting going. And, you know, in the last couple of years, to be able to do things with the leaderboard prize that aren't in our budget, you know, like support other orgs, send some youth to a service learning trip.
And if I might add one thing that might be helpful, what we do is we set aside 2 people, and when Give Out Day starts that day, that's all we do. When we wake up in the morning, we get on the phones, we start texting, we start going to social media. I mean, that's our job for that day, from the time we wake up until midnight. Give Out Day is our job to try to hustle and raise these funds.
That's great. I just want to share that, like, that's actually true also of the Horizons team. Like, Give Out Day is kind of like Christmas morning for us. Like the excitement that goes into all of that, watching it start and watching it end, and seeing all of the fabulous organizations across the country and all of the amazing donors who we know are not all our community. We have a significant number of people who are our allies who donate to us. And it's just such a great feeling that we have when we get this day going. And so I just want to say thank you very much to all of you for sharing your stories. and your tips and ideas for success, because I think it's super valuable for other organizations to hear, like, what is it that went into you being able to be successful on Give Out Day, and how you've leveraged that. And we'd really like to have organizations start thinking about it in the way that you all do, which is like you plan for it year after year. It's not just something that you do at the last minute, but you work it into sort of your programming and your planning for the year. And that's how you help to leverage your success. So thank you all very much. I don't see any more questions coming in. Marianne, if you want to go ahead and send those slides that you were going to show, I will send them out when we message folks. And the one thing I did want to put into chat really quick is just our email address. If you have any questions that you would like answered, please go ahead and reach out to us. We are here to support you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nicole.
This was great. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thanks.